Father Michael Heinrich Weniger, he wrote a 500-page book called Lodge and Altar. For those that don't know, basically the assembly halls for Masons is called a lodge. Lodge and Altar on the reconciliation of the Catholic Church and regular Freemasonry. This is the book he wrote. He launched the book in Vienna, in Austria, and he was accompanied at the book launch with the Austrian Lodge Grand Master Georg Selmler. Georg Selmler. Semler identifies as a, quote, committed Catholic, while Weninger it was ordained by Cardinal Christoph Schönborn in 2011. He was outed as a Freemason when celebrating Mass at the consecration of a new lodge of Mark Master Masons number 1954 in 2014. So the guy was ordained by Schönborn in 2011, and he was found celebrating Mass at a Freemasonic lodge in 2014.
Just to be very clear, the church has, from the outset of Freemasonry, as you and I have discussed before on your show, modern Freemasonry came into existence in the early 1700s, the Grand Lodge of London, and since then, it's been condemned, I believe, a total of like 23 times by 12 different popes.
Yeah.
It's never been revoked. It can't be revoked because Freemasonry, based on its principles, is irreconcilable with the Catholic faith. You actually provide the full text of the Alta Vendita in your book. I have my friend John Venari, God rest his soul, his little booklet, Permanent Instruction of the Alta Vendita. And in the Alta Vendita, which is this Masonic blueprint, as John referred to it as, for the subversion of the Catholic Church, it starts by saying, or at least this section of it says, our ultimate end is that of Voltaire and of the French Revolution, the final destruction of Catholicism and even of the Christian idea. I mean, how much clearer can they be? Their purpose, their reason for being is to destroy the church, to destroy Christendom. So this notion that there can be a reconciliation between the lodge and the altar is absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention excommunicable. I mean, he's, according to even the current law of the church, this priest, for outing himself as a Freemason, is done.
He's excommunicated.
Right. Several popes, including Pope Pius IX, in his document encyclical called Esti Multa, he applies the verse from the book of the Apocalypse, from chapter 2, verse 9. He applies the title, the Synagogue of Satan, to Freemasonry, to the Masonic Lodge.
I'd like to read, just in case there's some people out there who have heard it said, oh, well, we used to be against Freemasons, but now we realize that, they just want to have universal brotherhood and friendship, and, they all believe in God, and we believe in God, and Jews believe in God, and Muslims believe in God, so we're all doing the same thing. I want to read a 1983 Declaration on Masonic Association.
Yes.
From John Paul II. It says, quote, the Church's negative judgment in regard to Masonic association remains unchanged, since their principles have always been considered irreconcilable with the doctrine of the Church, and therefore membership in them remains forbidden. The faithful who enroll in Masonic associations are in a state of grave sin and may not receive communion, end quote. Here it assumes that only lay people would do something so dumb as to become a Freemason. We had just this past week that other story of the guy who was a Freemason. He visited Lord. He had a conversion, and he came out of it. And he testifies he was startled when he was in the lodge and he heard a worshipful master invoking Lucifer in a rite. Mm-hmm. He was like, whoa, I didn't know we did that. Freemasonry is satanic. It's a synagogue of Satan. If you have ever been one, you need to renounce it. Father Ripperger talks about this. And I've done it because my grandfather was a Freemason. Mm-hmm. So we actually had Father Ripperger pray the exorcism over myself, Joy, and all 8 of our children together.
Yep.
To break the bonds of Freemasonry. So
Yes.
I think I'm good. You know, Father Ripperger says Freemasonry doesn't just put threats on yourself, like you described the story, Matt, of the guy stripping down naked and the dagger pushed to his chest. As you go up, there are oaths against your children or against your female descendants.
Yep.
That you bind. So you're, as a father, you're binding your future generations under the oaths of Freemasonry. So those had to be broken.
Yep.
And Father Ripperger says often the spiritual fallout of Freemasonry on children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren is the curse of divorce. The spirits of Freemasonry haunt family lines with divorce.